Hi all. In this video, we are going to learn about this very important concept of random variables and probability distribution. If you remember in the previous video, I had mentioned that data science is basically about statistical modeling in order to make automated predictions. And so the moment we talk about statistical modeling, a certain kind of randomness enters into the picture. And if you want to model randomness, you have to obviously begin with random variables and probability distributions. And that is what we are going to learn in this video. So this is about random variables and probability distributions. So the first thing in this whole big phrase is something that we understand is this word variable. So variable is something that varies. The variable word obviously comes from there. So let's take a quantity. So let's say x. So for scientists, x is the favorite English alphabet. So let's take x and let's say that x has a value is equal to 5. So now this is a fixed quantity and there is nothing much that we can do. But let's say that x is not a fixed quantity and x can vary. So instead of being 5, let's say that x can take any value from the set 1, 3 and 7, let's say, for example. So now let's say that at different times x takes different values. So let's denote our time also by an integer, and let's say our t is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on, and the value of x at these times, let's say it is 1, it is 3, it is 7, then again it is 1, it is again 3, again it is 7, then it is 1, then 3 and 7 and so on. So this sequence of values that x takes seems to be completely periodic, so we can exactly predict what value x will take at a certain location or at a certain time. But now, so let's say x is, let's say 1, then it is 3, then again it is 1, then it is 7, then it is 3, then again it is 7, then it is 1 and so on. So this seems to be like a random sequence where it is very hard to exactly predict what the value of x is going to be at a certain given time. And this is where the concept of random variables comes in, that when you have a certain observation of a certain variable whose value you are unable to predict, and that can happen for two reasons. The first reason is that the system is chaotic inherently, and if the system is chaotic, even though it may be deterministic, you still cannot predict exactly what the next value is going to be, and that is what the beautiful theory of chaos is all about. So even those systems which are deterministic, but if they are shown to be chaotic, then making predictions about the future states is actually impossible. So there again, this idea of randomness comes in. And then, of course, quantum mechanics tells us that the world at a deeper level is inherently stochastic. That systems can take values probabilistically without there being any underlying deterministic uh, behavior. And there again, randomness comes in. So if you take in real life, even without quantum mechanics, you have climate science, you have stock market predictions. So they're all, you have quantities which are very hard to predict. And so even though the underlying dynamics may be or may not be deterministic, but we are forced to undertake a probabilistic description or prescription for such systems. And this is where random variables comes in. So a random variable is basically a variable whose value is not predetermined and it can change without having a obvious deterministic description. Now when we talk of random variables, you have to now find a way of talking about their future outcomes. And the way you talk about the future outcomes of random variables is through this concept of probability distributions. So here we are again talking of random variables which may not have a exact predictive possibility, but its future states do follow certain patterns which are captured using the concept of probability distribution. So let's see what a probability distribution is all about. So before getting into it, let's remind ourselves that random variables come in two varieties. The first kind is discrete, which is more easier to understand, and the second kind is continuous random variables, which are slightly more difficult, but they are very useful, and we are going to see them in this video very shortly. So the most simple example of a discrete random variable is a coin toss. This is something that we all learn in probability theory whenever we start learning about it. So you take a coin and you toss it, and it has two possible outcomes. So if you denote the possible outcomes as x, x can take two possibilities, which is either heads or it can be tails. So usually we denote head by the number 1 and we denote tails by the number 0. And so when you toss a coin, although you know that a coin is following the deterministic laws of Newton, but because the parameters are so many and they are so complex to model, we cannot actually exactly predict what the coin is going to turn out to be. So here again we use probability, and as we all know, if the coin is fair, meaning it is unbiased, we can say that the coin will turn to be heads or tails with equal probability. So we can say that the probability of x is equal to 1 is equal to some p, and so obviously the probability of x being equal to 0 will be equal to 1 minus p, because they have to sum to give 1, because they are the only two possibilities, and this we can denote by q also. So this is basically the simplest possible example of a discrete random variable, and this is known as a Bernoulli distribution. So a probability distribution is basically a description of the probabilities that the different values of the random variable follow. So here the random variable can take two values, 1 and 0, with probabilities p and 1 minus p respectively. So that becomes the probability distribution of this random variable x, and it has a nice name after Bernoulli, who was a famous scientist, and it is called Bernoulli distribution. Now you can take this coin and you can toss it many times, or you can take many coins and you can toss it one time. And that leads to the next example of a discrete random variable, and that is called a binomial distribution. So here what we ask is that if you have a total n number of coin tosses, what you ask is the probability of the number of heads being equal to k. So here this x represents number of heads. So now obviously if you have small n number of coins and if you have k number of heads, firstly you have to choose k coins out of these n coins where you have heads, so that can be done in nc k number of ways, and then you have to multiply this with the probability that k coins are heads and n minus k coins are tails. So the probability of n coins having head is small p to the power k, and then you have n minus k coins being tails, and that probability of each tail is 1 minus p, and that's how you get this probability of the number of heads in n coin tosses, or one toss each of n coins. So an exercise that I would recommend you to do is to plot this function for different values of n and different values of k. And as n becomes very large, see what happens to this distribution. You will find some very interesting patterns which I will not answer in this video, but I would like you to plot and see what happens. Then the next very important distribution in the discrete domain is called the Poisson distribution. So Poisson distribution, comes across, for example, if you're sitting at a bus stop and you're getting bored, what you would do is to count the number of buses that come, let's say, in a 1 hour interval. So let's say you are sitting there from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. because you have nothing else to do. What you can do is that you can count how many buses came from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., then from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., then from 11 a.m. to 12 noon, and so on in 1 hour intervals. And if you are jobless for a few months, you could do it for every single day. And then what you would discover most likely is that these number of buses that come in an hourly interval follow what is this called this Poisson distribution. So this Poisson distribution is essentially having a probability distribution which is given by the function lambda power k e power minus lambda divided by k factorial. So lambda is some parameter which governs the rate at which buses come, or the average rate at which buses come, and k is the number of events, which means the number of times the bus came in a 1 hour interval, and that is found to have this Poisson distribution. So in general, what we have noticed is that if you have a discrete random variable which is, let's say, denoted by x, and it can take values from this set denoted by sigma, so x1, x2 and x3 up to xn. These are, let's say, the different possible values that your capital X can take. What the rules of probability tell us is that each of those probabilities has to be between 0 and 1, and if you sum up all of those probabilities for all I, then that sum has to be equal to 1, because the random variable capital X has to take one value at least. Okay, so if you have 10 different values, then let's say if the random variable takes these values with different probabilities, all of those probabilities have to be between 0 and 1, and the sum has to be exactly equal to 1, because if you take a random variable, it has to take at least one of these values. So this was the concept of discrete random variables, and it is very useful in many situations. But what is more useful in modeling, especially in statistical modeling, is this concept of continuous random variables. So what is this continuous random variables? So now in the previous case, what we saw is that our random variable takes values in this set, and these have n different values. Now let's say this small n is very large in number. So let's say capital X can take, let's say, 1 million values or maybe 1 billion values. Then what happens is that the probability for each of the value will become very, very small. And sometimes it becomes so small that it is practically zero. So in that case, talking about the probabilities of individual events does not make any sense. And then what you talk about is the probability of the random variable being in a certain range of values. So instead of saying that the random variable is equal to 1 or 5 or 15, you say that, okay, so what is the probability that my random variable is between 5 and 6? Because that suddenly becomes more meaningful if your random variable can take many different values. For example, take the stock market. So let's take Tata Motors. Let's say if its stock is trading at 102.56 rupees today, tomorrow its value can be 103.97, or it could also be 98.35. And although the possibilities are still finite, they are countable. So technically speaking, you could model them as discrete random variables, but because the possibilities are so many that it would be foolish to actually try to model this as a discrete random variable. So in that case, what you do is that you talk of continuous random variable. So what you do is that you say that the probability of x being in a certain range, and this you do when x takes on a very large number of different values. Now, of course, if you talk strictly from a purely mathematical perspective, then the idea of continuous random variable makes sense when capital X takes real values, when the value for capital X is any real number. Now, because real numbers, are uncountable, so they cannot be, modeled using a discrete random variable. So you have to use a continuous random variable. But in real life, real numbers don't exist, because if you take any measuring device, then naturally it has a finite range, it has a finite precision. So any measuring device, no matter how precise it is, will always have only a discrete set of possible values. But because these set of values are so large in number in many instances of interest in real life, we model these variables using the concept of continuous random variable. So now, like in the case of discrete random variables, the simplest idea was a coin toss. In the case of continuous random variables, the simplest idea is that of a uniform probability distribution. So let's say this axis denotes the random variable capital X. So a uniform probability distribution would be such that it is non-zero between a range A to B, and it has a constant magnitude over here. So this y-axis would denote the probability distribution of the random variable. Yeah, it would denote the probability distribution of the random variable taking a value small x. So what does this f of x mean? So f is not the probability itself, it has to be multiplied by something else to make it probability. So if we are talking of, let's say, this quantity, what is the probability of x being between a to b? So one could intuitively say from this figure that capital X is between a to b always, because outside this range the function f is 0. So this value in this case is equal to 1. And what does that represent? Intuitively we can see that it represents the area under the curve. So this quantity is equal to nothing but integral of fx dx from a to b. So now if you want to find the, let's say, the probability of this random variable, let's say taking on values in some other range. So let's take some other range over here. Let's say it is some uh, C1 to C2, and now we want to find the probability that this random variable can take a value in this range C1 to C2. Then all that we need to do is that we need to do this integration from C1 to C2, and that will give us the probability that capital X is in this range C1 to C2. So this is the basic idea of a continuous random variable, and obviously we can say that no matter what our random variable is, but if we take it and integrate it from minus infinity to plus infinity, that value has to be equal to 1. And that is because the probability of all possible events taken together has to be equal to 1. And this is the equivalent of the summation rule that we saw earlier. But one important difference as compared to the discrete case is that in the continuous case, this fx can be larger than 1 at certain locations, because f itself does not represent probability, and it is only when it is integrated over the range that it becomes probability. So even if f is larger than 1, but as long as the integration is below 1, we don't have a problem. And if we ensure that the total integral is equal to 1, so obviously integration over a smaller range will be less than 1, and so we don't really have a problem. But still f must always be positive. That is very, very important. So now why are we worrying about probability and random variables in this course on machine learning? Now obviously, as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of this video itself, that data science and machine learning is all about statistical modeling, and statistics is all about probability. And so obviously probability theory plays a very, very important role. So to end this video, let me introduce you to the most important, or perhaps the most important continuous uh, probability distribution, which is the Gaussian distribution. This is almost like magic, because whether you take science, whether you take engineering, whether you take biology, Gaussian distribution is everywhere. And we thought maybe it is restricted to the the pure sciences or the natural world. But even when you take machine learning, Gaussian distribution again plays a very, very important role, because many of the machine learning techniques which have been developed, they work well when the data has some properties which can be modeled as a Gaussian distribution. So Gaussian distribution is kind of the bread and butter of statistical modeling in general. Of course, scientists have been working and they have developed some techniques to handle data which is non-Gaussian in nature, but still it is fairly challenging. If your data behaves like a Gaussian, then it becomes far more easier to analyze it using data science techniques. And if we talk of real life, the velocity of gas molecules in the room that you're sitting have a Gaussian distribution. If you are using a mobile phone that is forming a communication channel which has noise, and that noise also usually is Gaussian. If you take a large population of human beings, you measure their height, and if you plot the distribution, that also has a Gaussian distribution. So Gaussian distribution is everywhere. No matter what you do, you just cannot get rid of it from your life. So if you want to plot Gaussian distribution and see how it looks like, so let's say this is your x, this is our distribution function f of x, and if you plot it, this is not really the best way to plot it, but this gives some idea about what's going on. Okay, this has come out much better than what I thought. So this is roughly how a Gaussian distribution looks like, and the expression is f of x equal to 1 by sigma root 2 pi exponential of minus half x minus mu by sigma whole square. So this mu is the mean of this distribution function and sigma is the variance. So mean is easy to understand. Mean is just the middle point or the average of the distribution, and sigma is kind of the width of the distribution. So how wide your distribution is measured by the quantity sigma, which is the standard deviation of your distribution function. So in the next video, we will learn about mean and variance in some more detail, and we will understand also that why is it that this Gaussian distribution is so ubiquitous in nature. So interestingly, as you will see, there is a mathematical theorem that actually explains why this Gaussian distribution is so ubiquitous in nature, and that is called the central limit theorem, which we are going to see in the next video. So till then, stay connected.